Hey everyone. So I had a student connect with me and she has a project that she needs some answers to a question to. So I thought I would hop on here really fast because it's way easier for me to do a quick live video answering her questions than it is to type up all the answers. So I've been working around the house, not all ready for a video, but we're going to just do this because why not? So all of her questions have to do with pre-arranging a funeral. And so I'm going to just give some basic overview of pre-arranging. So for Savannah, what is a pre-need? So my question back to her was, hey, everybody, what do you mean by pre-need? Are you pre-arranging or are you pre-funding? So when you meet with somebody ahead of time, they come in for a variety of different reasons. So my number one thing is that I want to find out why they're there with me. Is somebody dying? Is it for themselves? Is it for a parent? Is someone failing in their health? Or is this just information gathering? Is it getting ready for retirement and getting funds set aside in retirement? So there's a lot of different reasons that people may come in to start pre-arranging for a funeral. On the flip side, same for pre-funding. Are we doing a spend down to go on state funding? Are we trying to set aside money so you know it's there in terms of retirement? Hey, everybody, I'm not going to answer too many questions really today. I'm just going to talk about the pre-arranging to answer questions for a student named Savannah. But thank you guys for being here. Check in, post where you're coming from. I love seeing where everybody is across the world when I do these. And so a pre-need could be basically someone coming and gathering information for themselves. It could be them wanting to lay out their whole funeral start to finish, get all their information on file, pick out everything they want merchandise-wise, pay for it. It could be just information gathering up to the full shebang, making basically a full arrangement as if it was an at-need. And that's what sometimes when I sit down with families is I say, I'm going to treat this almost as if it's an at-need situation and we're going to work through from start to finish. We can do as much as you want to do. Tell me if we get into an area where you don't want to touch on today, and then we'll go to the next thing. So it just depends on how much people want to be there and want to be doing. You know, we've gone through some ebbs and flows. Everybody, 103 in Arizona, Hokey Pete. It's like 60 some to here, which is like a heat wave. Everybody's in like tank tops and shorts and going crazy because we had snow last week multiple times. Insane. So when you go to do, what was the question she asked? How often do you do a pre-need? So it goes in ebbs and flows. I remember back in the early 2000s, like 2003, 4, it was really common for multiple times a week in a mid-sized funeral home that people were just stopping in, walk-ins for pre-arranging. That was pretty common, and that has slowed way down where not as many people walk in. The great thing is that a lot of funeral homes are getting a little more aggressive or socially connecting to do pre-arrangements. So they have lunch and learns where they have an opportunity for someone to come, have a lunch, learn about the funeral home, learn about the options that are there, not talk numbers though. That's a more one-on-one conversation, but just to get out, let people connect with somebody from the funeral home and maybe answer a few brief questions. So it's not so much people coming to the funeral home anymore, getting information. A lot of times it's the funeral home going out, providing. You know, there's some funeral homes that do that mass mail, and you may get the thing in the mail that says, hey, have you ever thought about your funeral? What would you be interested in learning about? Cremation, burial, pricing, and then you return it, and then somebody calls you and sets up, an appointment or whatever for you to learn more. So it really just depends what it is you're seeking and how proactive you are at stopping in and getting the information. I think the most stop-in people is often those that have a loved one on hospice, and hospice tells the family, you should go connect with a funeral home, you should get information, you should look at what that next step is. Hey guys, I appreciate it, Tommy. That's really super. Thank you for the support. I think it's really awesome. Hey, Dark Helmet, welcome. Let's see Savannah's next question. What typically occurs during pre-need arrangements? Because I kind of, as I said, it's a wide range. And I always let the person there kind of lead and tell me why they're there. If they're there for a loved one that's dying, I find out what their most pressing question is. Or if they're there for themselves, I kind of go through and ask them how much information they really want to do. Do we want to write an obituary and start one to have on file? Do we want to pick out an actual casket, or do we want to just look at, price ranges? Do you want to pick out an urn? Do you want to pick out the songs for your service and have those on file? Everybody's a little different with how much or how little they want to do. Stepping into the funeral home is a huge step to make. It's really scary for a lot of people. A lot of people just don't even want to do that, let alone plan out their whole funeral. But then there's people who come in who have notebooks and files and documents and all sorts of things because they've been planning and they're ready to plan and they want their information somewhere. So you really do have the broad spectrum of people that come in and what they want to accomplish. What are the general questions family members have? If a family member comes in to prearrange for somebody else, cost is often a big number one thing. And also what the process is going to look like. They're going to ask, what happens if mom dies? What happens if mom dies at 2 a.m? Do you wait? Do we call you at like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m.? Do we wait until business hours? They kind of want to know what that next step is going to look like, because a life without mom is concerning enough, let alone what is that moment going to look like? There's a lot of unknowns when it comes to death. So the more that you can be prepared for, the better. So I would say kind of how's it going to play out when the death occurs, and cost are some of the big ones. Also, what are our options? We know we want cremation, but what are some of our options in viewing? So-and-so is out of town. Can we wait a week? There's like maybe logistics. They want to know how those are going to play out. I think that's the most exciting thing for me about the business is every family is just enough different. There is no cookie cutter arrangement or pre-arrangement. Everyone is just enough a little different. Everyone is potentially could throw you a curveball and throw you a question that you haven't had before. Just like you guys are throwing me questions all the time that I haven't been asked or are new, or maybe no one's asked me in 3 years. So just like we have those interchanges, so do we with families that we're sitting down with, whether it's pre-need or at need. So there's all sorts of questions. There's all sorts of variables. There's all sorts of, okay, if mom dies on Monday, can we have the funeral on Thursday, Friday? There's people that come in where somebody's on hospice and they're on life support and they want to plan the actual day of the funeral. Well, they tell us she's probably going to die tonight. So can we put the obituary in? Can we plan? And I'm like, no. And it's not just me that gets these. So many funeral directors get this situation where people have been told a timeline and they go with that timeline. Well, we're going to pull the plug on mom tomorrow. So we want the obituary in Wednesday's paper and we want the funeral on Thursday, Friday. And it's like, no. We need to have her actually dead before we plan the time. I've had people pull the plug and take someone off life support and they're back home alive 2 weeks later. So it's not a definitive thing that someone is going to 100% of the time die when they are taken off of life support. So you can't just plan for that funeral, even though you want to get everything set in stone. Sometimes it's a crazy situation, really. Hey, everybody, thanks so much for being here. Just going over a question for Savannah, who is a mortuary school student, and she had some questions about pre-need she has to do for a project, so I'm just answering those. Have you ever had pre-need arrangements gone bad? Never. I don't know if bad, I don't know what by bad, what that would mean. I've had where I'm sitting down with people and hospice calls that the person died while we were making arrangements. And I always hate that situation because I wish they would have been there with the person. Like what we were doing could have waited till after the person died, but they felt the need to come do that. So they were where they felt they needed to be at the moment or thought that maybe they needed to be. So that's always a really hard, awkward emotional, roller coaster when they call and tell you the person died while you're with the family. Kind of bad. Sometimes you sit down with families and the pricing is not right, or you can't meet their needs, and you know that you're not going to see them again. They're going to just probably go somewhere else. And every funeral home is not meant to serve every family. Just like you don't go eating at every single type of restaurant. You have specific needs and specific desires and specific things you like. Same with a funeral home. Just because it's a business that could serve you doesn't mean it's the right one for you. So it's okay if it's not the right fit. And it's okay for the funeral home if you're not the right fit, and vice versa. Would you do a pre-need for yourself? So I have, it's funny because my mom called me last week. She's been cleaning her house just like I think a lot of us have been cleaning around our houses, file cabinets and drawers and things. And when I go on trips with my husband, I will sit down and I will write out and I will get together things for what I want for my own funeral. What do I desire? What do I want to have? And I will send those to my parents. That way, if something happens to my husband and I, we're gone on our trips or whatever, they have it. What funeral home do I want to use? Who's going to embalm me? What songs do I want played? Different stuff like that. And she called and she said, "Are these up to date?" And I'm like, "No, you might want to send those back to me." And so I need to update those things. I am not prearranged with one funeral home. A lot of that, to me, I strongly believe is something that my family needs to make those choices for themselves. My family needs to make a lot of those choices for themselves. I've written down passwords for things, preparing in that way to me is almost more important than the funeral part of it. Like, as long as my family knows my social security number and financial information and credit card and email passwords and, website passwords and things like that, that to me is more important than actually prearranging the funeral, because my family, I want them to pick out what they would want for me and to do what they would want for me. So that to me is more important when it comes to prearranging. Hey, everybody. Yeah, my hair is super straight today. I straightened it just so I could get a little trim on it and have it be a straight trim. So it's really like flat and straight. I'm battling the natural color and the length happening during the quarantine, guys. Not gonna lie. So you may see a little more natural color coming through and some wanky hair going on. So appreciate you guys. This is gonna be just a short video because I'm doing it just to respond. Appreciate all of you. And that is a little tidbit information on prearranging, prefunding. Getting into the prefunding, I will just say, so you're prefunding with a third party. You don't prefund with the funeral home. So don't write your money or give your money directly to the funeral home. You're going to write your check to that third party trust or life insurance. They're who holds your funds. So if the funeral home closes, if you move across the country, your money is there and locked in. It's yours. It'll transfer over to wherever you're cared for down the road. The only thing that's locked in is the guarantee on that price that you locked in with that funeral home. So you may have to pay the current then pricing with whatever funeral home you use that money towards or at, but you at least have a bank account or a fund set up towards your funeral for you to use whenever you need it down the road. So that is the one thing that would change with the funding. So I will dive into things more at another time, but this answers hopefully Savannah's questions that she had on pre-funding and pre-need with a funeral home. So thanks, guys. Have a great Sunday. I will see you this week. I'm not doing a live coffee with Kari on Wednesday because I am tied up with appointments literally all day. So I'll probably come at you on Tuesday with my coffee with Kari chat. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.